income rider is huge. It is huge. Now, I don't know how it works, Adrian. Maybe you can help us with this. Is it only with the Express product, or is it with the fully underwritten as well?
It goes with both. You could do
Nice.
Super or Trendsetter.
Now, I have a client that I gave this to years back, and I didn't know if that still was available. But like Mutual Omaha is the only other company that we have that offers a disability income rider, but they only do it with the Mutual Omaha Express product.
Right.
You have to do non-med. This is a disability rider that you can add to your policy that would work on a fully underwritten, so the individual came back preferred, they potentially can have a disability rider on a preferred rating that would pay out to them on a monthly basis to supplement their monthly income.
If
And
they
you
want to
can
become
disabled,
legally
yeah.
disabled, okay.
No, not yeah. Like I'm saying, like if they have to take off from work because the doctor says you're disabled,
6 months or longer.
6
right?
months,
6 months or more.
6
yeah.
months or more,
Mutual, at least.
and up to what 36 months?
Up to 36 months.
Up to
after
3
the
years.
first claim, yeah.
They'll pay you out,
To
and
get
the
you back
more
on your feet.
obviously it maxes out what some.
It's equal or less, whichever one comes first. I mean, they were saying it's according to your income.
Right.
You know, so it's up to 60% of your income, or 70% of your income,
Or
the higher amount of the death benefit.
wow.
If that makes sense. So whichever one's higher.
Wow. And I have
if
a
you
client.
make less, and you know, then you'd probably be better off getting what the mutual.
But you buy it per unit. You buy it per
Right.
unit too. So you pay for it. So like I have a client, she's a social worker, and she got the insurance. It was $3,000 a month, and literally like probably about a year and a half after she got it, she had carpal tunnel, and she was off for like a year and a half after she had surgery, and she was able to exercise her disability. It's crazy because I think that's probably the only disability one I've done. You know, so it was used.
Yeah.
On top of the living benefit, that's incredible.
Okay, and again, the Trendsetter LB does give you access to the early access to the policy's death benefit. Should you suffer a critical illness, terminal illness like stroke, cancer, heart attacks, paralysis, blindness, organs, transplants, etc., etc. So how the living benefits works, there is a scenario there that I was able to print out for you guys in the event that one of your clients should become chronically ill. The chronic illness means that you can't perform 2 out of your 6 daily activities like bathing, dressing, toileting, continence on your own, and you require assistance. Now, what would be a trigger for you to tap into the chronic illness is you have to have an impairment for a period of at least 90 days in order for you to qualify for that chronic illness. And now, depending on the severity of that case, that's where they'll determine, Transamerica will determine how much you're able to get front-loaded from your death benefit. In this scenario, her name is Sarah, obviously, and she's roughly about 35 years old, paying about $29 a month for a 30-year term, face amount of $300,000, including the access to the living benefits. It shows here that she was injured in a car accident resulting in serious back injuries, difficult to do everyday tasks. She shows that she struggled to recover. 3 years later, she was diagnosed with a chronic illness. Now, because she has the Trendsetter policy, Trendsetter LB policy, she's able to exercise her benefit of chronic illness in this case. So she was able to obtain, after only paying $3,436 in premiums, she was able to cash out $24,252.88 from her policy. Again, you can use this money however you would like. It's not monitored in any way, like for example, long-term care. So that's huge because it's your money. So she was able to get that front-loaded to her, a maximum of 24% per year that she was able to get. And it shows here the policy maximum of the lesser of the 90% or the face amount of $1.5 million. Max amount that you can front load is $1.5 million. So again, she was paid out $24,000. Now it is reduced. Do you guys have? Maybe you guys are having things come up in your head and wondering what happens to the difference, or do I have to pay the difference because there's still some money there? So what that would do, the premiums would be reduced based off of what you have in your balance. So now it's pretty much like prorate, if that's a good word to use, and that's what you would end up paying based off your face amount that's left over after after exercising that chronic illness benefit. Okay. So there are policy fees that are included in this. So as you can see, when she front loaded that amount, she was only left with $227,991. So if you guys do the math, there's obviously a gap there. That's policy fees, everything that's included, interest that basically allows the company to get business pretty much. So there are fees that go along with this. But more importantly, your client was able to access 24% of that each year for a maximum of 4 years.
Carla.
Okay, so that's the chronic illness. The critical illness in the event that they should suffer a heart attack. As you can see, any critical illness would be a condition like heart attack, stroke, cancers, end-stage renal failure, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, major organ transplants, blindness, paralysis, or any specific underlying conditions. Now, in the state of California, a critical illness means that you have been diagnosed after the fact, after you received your policy. Okay, it can be a prior critical illness. And in the absence of a treatment or result of your death within 12 months. So there's also another scenario there. So you guys can see it's a female, 40-year-old female, face amount of $250,000, monthly premium is $44.51. She ends up having a heart attack 8 years later after obtaining her policy. According to the life expectancy, it was a severe, meaning that she has a minimum amount of years or less to live. So it is a severe, so they allowed her to front load up to 90% of their face amount, which is whatever that would be. And in this case, she was able to cash out $150,000 of her $250,000 policy. And she has about $25,000 left after fees, policy fees, and administration fees. And she only invested $4,272, so it's pretty simple. Again, the maximum that you could obtain is $2 million in life insurance with the LB. And there's another scenario in the back in the event that you should have a critical illness and need an organ transplant. Again, just another scenario there, pretty simple. Just allows you to see how much you're able to get front loaded. Now, with the chronic illness, if you guys noticed that it was only 24% the max that you can get, regardless of the severity of that case. Now, Transamerica decides what your severity is and how much you're able to get front loaded, but the max is 24%.
Per year?
Per year, yes, per year.
Up to 90%.
Up to the 90%, yeah, because there is going to be a balance in your
right.
Still gonna have a balance.
So only 24% of the 90% total
per year, yeah.
Per year.
Yeah.
So that means that so that makes sense because the first year would be 24% of 90 of 24% at a maximum of 90. So
yeah.
Hypothetically, 24% would be 240, and then another 110.
Right.
So 330, right? So then the next year it would be 24% of that remaining 1.2 million, right?
Well, based off a $300,000 face amount on this scenario.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so got you.
Yeah, but
I'm talking about on the max.
The maximum that we can front load is 1.5 mil.
So in this case, it would be 73,000 the first year, but then the remaining balance would be 227. So then the next year would be 24% of that 227.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, up to the 90%.
So do you have to be preferred to qualify for this?
No.
No, you can get a standard rating.
Because all of the examples are like preferred.
No. Look at the critical.
Yeah, the critical illness with the heart attack, they were at a standard non-smoker.
And that's actually very fitting, and it's probably because a standard client is more likely to have that illness than a preferred client.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And 8 years later, she suffered a heart attack.
And then, so how long do you have to have the policy for in order to?
That is a great question. I'm not too sure. I'll get back to you.
No, immediately, and then you have to have 90 days of. Has to be 90 days, and for instance, a critical, it's 90 days, right? 90 days or more.
Yeah, well, yeah, for
You
the
can't perform till you're
chronic
60.
illness, it has to be an impairment for a period of
Yeah.
90 days or more. So
But
you're not allowed. in
So
order
the
for you to-
critical, it's right after your insurance, as long as it's not a pre-existing condition.
Okay, yeah. That's-
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I have a question.
yeah.
It might sound a little stupid, but
It's no stupid question.
let's say that like,
There's only.
I know, miracles, well, miracles happen, like, so let's say that a doctor says you have less than 12 months to live.
Right.
You know, God decides to bless you and you survive, but you've advanced, do you owe money at that point?
No.
I know it's such like a rare.
It's a great question, actually.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. That's what I was going to get to. So there is a balance that is left on your policy. So basically, that's what would happen is it would go prorated, and you would simply pay the difference that on that balance. So you would no longer pay the premiums. In this case, it's $28.64 monthly. So it would be.
But you wouldn't, granted that I didn't die within those 12 months because I
Well,
survived.
The doctor still gave you
There
12
won't
months.
be
Yeah.
a
Right. So
penalty.
I mean, it's based off what the doctor.
It's
says.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has happened, right? Where this person doesn't die after the fact, but they were still front loaded their benefits. So,
Yeah.
you know, the doctor said that you had 12 months or less.
Mhm.
That's
In-
like you
in
said, that's a
this-
miracle. Now you're just like one of that. Yeah, you're that number.
Yeah, so
Right.
then what would happen to that money?
In that, they probably use it at that point. But now my question to you is, can they do that again for the next year?
No, you can only tap into it one time.
Yeah, you can only have.
per illness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's only like if you make a claim for the chronic illness, that's what you can do.
You can only have one occurrence per benefit.
Right.
Provider.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, in the event that you should have a chronic illness and a terminal illness, in this case, you can only do one or the two.
Okay.
Now,
Right.
right, one of the two. You can't do both. But my recommendation is to get where you can get front loaded.
Yeah, you could do.
you know?
You can pick the one that has the most. That
Right.
one's going to benefit you the most.
Exactly, and in this case, of comparison to like what was it? The critical and the chronic. The chronic only allows you up to 24%. If you have a chronic illness or a terminal illness, well, I would file a claim for the terminal because now I could get up to 90%
Yeah.
in comparison to 24% a year
Right.
for that. So it really all depends on what you want to do at that point. You know, a lot of people, they don't need the money, so they like just leave it in there. You know, or they front load a certain percentage, and then that's what I was saying. So the difference in that percentage, you would only pay on that. Your premiums would pretty much go down now because now it's a lesser face amount.
So here's something I wanted to add to that. So on that point that you made, let's say you did outlive it, or let's say you did use one of the critical, chronic, or terminal illness riders. If it is a term, depending on the state you're in, you have to let your client know if they ask you, is it taxable? It could potentially be a taxable situation.
Here in the state of California.
Yes, because what happens is if that term policy, if it ends before, so the difference between the amount of premiums that you paid and the benefit that you took out are in existence prior to or after the policy term period ended, meaning that the contract's done. That means that you've you've been put in a financial gain. So in that financial gain, there could be tax consequences. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So if you have like a $90,000, let's say you have a $100,000 policy, you've paid over 30 years, over 10 years, you've paid, $10,000, but you took $50,000 out of it for a living benefit.
Yeah.
That means that you may be on the hook for $40,000 after that term period ends. Now there's ways to get around that. They talk about like term converting and doing that kind of stuff too, which potentially can actually be even, it could actually be more counter effective than paying taxes to continue to pay premium on certain. But there's ways, but ultimately at the end of the day, because we're not tax professionals, that's something that
Right.
you can't say that it's not going to happen.
But it would only fall into the case if someone were to pull the benefits and not
Yeah.
die.
Right, not die or stop paying the premium on the policy
So
on the prorated amount.
real quick on the chronic, it's 24% of the face amount per year,
Up to 90%.
up to 90% of the face amount. So on the critical, you can advance up to 90%
At one time.
in 1 year.
Right.
You're like so.
So, okay, so in this example, is this just the amount that she chose